Hello and welcome to the Charlie Fisher Show, presented by our good friends at the Brown Shoe Fit Company in Macomb. We're in Macomb at Buffalo Wild Wings. Another great crowd. Even on Halloween, no one's trick-or-treating today. That's nice for you to join and spend your Halloween with us, Scott Kornberg and Charlie Fisher. Again, this show presented by our friends at the Brown Shoe Fit Company. We're here 6 to 6:30 every single Monday, and we're going to raffle off a couple of meals. Sometimes we'll raffle off some T-shirts as well, so it's a really good time to come, especially with Western Illinois coming off another victory. 6-2, up to number 12 in the polls again, and a 35-34 win, an emotional win for your team, Coach Fisher. And now you're kind of leading into the tail end of the season, which is weird. The playoffs would start less than a month from today. November is tomorrow, which is crazy. In a game like this, and we'll kind of get through all the highlights as well, but to get your general thoughts, this was a game that South Dakota controlled the first half of the game. In the second half, I mean, what changes? What do you say to your team at halftime when you're down by 17 points and they'd scored 21 consecutive unanswered points?
Well, I think the biggest thing was number one, we just need to play better. I think our guys were trying to do a little too much, very emotional game for a lot of reasons that we've already discussed and talked about. And I think we just, at the end of the day, we're just trying too hard. We got off to a very good start, and we've had issues just with a lull of really one quarter, whatever it be. It seems like most recently it's been the second quarter for us. And I've said before, it's really hard to play 60 minutes of near perfect football. That's our goal. That's the goal of every coach, every team. And sometimes you're going to have a lull or you're going to hit some adversity. We got off to a great start. We're 14-10, and then boom, they hit 21 straight on us. And we've been down that road before. And at halftime, the neat part was, we got veteran leadership. We got guys, there was no panic, a lot of poise. It wasn't really a case where we had to go in there and do a lot of yelling. We just need to play better. We need to relax, quit trying so hard, and be the team. I said, I don't really recognize this isn't our team. We're better than this. And to the players' credit, they fixed it. They fixed it.
One of those veteran leaders is going to join us in a little bit. Jamie Gilmore will come on. He's got a really interesting backstory. Part of that is with you and in his career, and even not at Western Illinois. So it's 31-14 at halftime. You said, this is not the team we recognize. And you come out in the second half, and I think one of the crucial points of this game was you get the ball back to start the second half, march right down the field, and Sean McGuire able to put it in on the quarterback keeper. That gets you within 10 points. Third down, they call it 2, ball on the 6, right hash. Quarterback draw again for McGuire, running right to the numbers, diving for the end zone, touchdown Leathernecks. Sean McGuire taking matters into his own hands from 6 yards out, a quarterback draw, bouncing it outside, and Western Illinois starts the second half with a crucial touchdown. 31-20 Coyotes, 11:58 remaining third quarter. Crucial touchdown, I think, in the grand scheme of things, because you start that second half off so well, so you get the touchdown, you get a couple of defensive stops as well. How important was that to start the second half the way you guys did?
Well, you come out with a great intent. The look in our players' eyes was great. I knew we were ready to try to fix things, but you got to do it. You got to go out and you got to do it. You only have so many possessions, and to get the very first possession, take it right down and score, you just create momentum. And we get a couple stops. Momentum keeps building. And, as we know in this game, it's a game of momentum. Anything can happen. As momentum built, you could just see our guys knew. I felt like we could get back in the game. South Dakota struggled defensively. We can score with anybody. So that really wasn't an issue. We just need to get going. And because the clock's always a factor, that you've only got so many possessions in each half. So we had to make them count, and we did.
It's interesting. South Dakota plays so fast offensively, it almost helps create more possessions, in this case, for you guys on Saturday, and that really seemed to be the case. Again, a couple of defensive stops. You get the ball back at the end of the third quarter, and then our man of the hour in a little bit, Jamie Gilmore, again from 9 yards out. This touchdown pulls it to within one-score game. First and goal, right hash to the South Dakota 9. 80 seconds to go in the quarter. Third quarter, Leathernecks down by 10 at the moment. A receiver to each side. McGuire feeds Gilmore, bouncing it outside right, racing for the pylon. Touchdown, Leathernecks! Jamie Gilmore sprints in from 9 yards out, and Western Illinois has made it a one-score game. 31-27 Coyotes, a minute 13 to go in the third. Kind of amazing, and I think the big matchup on paper leading into this game was how well can Western Illinois run the football. South Dakota had one of the 8 or so worst rushing defenses in the nation. I think that really manifested itself, and it's interesting. You fall behind 17. You guys never abandoned the game plan and continue to run the football very well deep into the second half despite being down.
Right. Well, you mentioned, number one, a couple things. Their tempo, which I think probably the most underrated thing in the game. I said it all the times. Time of possession, management of the clock, using the clock when you're ahead, saving it when you're behind. I think it's an undervalued part of the game. And then we were able to get possessions fairly quickly. As you can see, we took that. We were down, 10 and got the ball, I think, with 4 minutes to go and scored with 1 minute. So basically we got it to a 3-point game before the third quarter was over, which is a good thing. We did really good there, and we ran the zone there. We're not going to panic. It was really just a matter of one play at a time. You can't get one-dimensional because you're behind 17. You can score 17 points quickly. You got to get stops. You got to take advantage of the possessions. But, inside zone to Jamie, that's our staple play, the zone play. He's very patient with it. You've seen, Jamie, basically redshirted a year ago at Temple, and you see him basically every week continue to get better and better, because he's back playing. He's over his hamstring injury, and it's been a great addition to our team.
As has the defense in the fourth quarter. They really progressed, like you said. And it's an interesting thing. South Dakota was throwing the ball all over the yard in the first half. And then in the fourth quarter, things started to get tight again, 31-28. You get that fumble in your own end zone, obviously, with less than a minute to play, or a little bit of time left in the clock there, about 5 minutes to play, and then ultimately score with less than a minute to play. But anyway, the defense, what changes? 31 points allowed in the first half, 3 in the second half. What changes there? Well,
number one, we gave them just right at 200 yards, gave them 3 points. They were able to put a couple drives, but they weren't able to hit quite the big plays. Number one, we took care of the running game for them. And really, I got a lot of respect for Chris Strevler. He's a really good player. He threw the ball as good as he has all year. He's kind of been a little inconsistent throwing the ball, but has made some big plays. But he can flat out run. Big, strong kid. Really, his runs came on scrambles. They weren't on design QB runs, which they had a bunch of them, but we did a good job on that. He hurt us some scrambling. Obviously, the big play's been a bugaboo, but we just, kept the ball in front of us, made them earn it. We shut down the run game. Maybe they got a touch more conservative, but we did a good job of taking care of business. And then the turnover at the end gave us one more opportunity. You said it got tight. I think it got fun, right? But, that's right. That's the way we like it. That's kind of the way we play. And it was, those games are, they're heart-stopping games, but it's really what makes the game special.
It's been an exhilarating ride so far. 3 wins by 5 points for Western Illinois. That that third down and goal for South Dakota at the 1 yard line. I mean, they don't have to score a touchdown in that situation. A field goal still puts them up 2 scores. Do you stress the fact you need a turnover there a little bit more and try to rip the ball out at all as the coaching staff?
You do. And when we came over there, I called a timeout right before that play because we couldn't leave the clock continue to bleed away because they were using it at that point. So you got to use your timeouts. Had we not gotten a turnover, I would have used another one right there. We had to because we had to try to get back. Then it would have been a 2-possession game depending on if it was a field goal or not. So no question, Dave, when we called him over, it's the first thing Dave said, we got to knock it loose. We got to find a way to get it out. And I've done this 36 years. That's not the first time I've seen that happen. I tell the players, till it's in, there's no points on the board. And if they're a half yard short, anything can happen, and it did.
34-28, you get the ball back after the fumble and touchback at your own 20, drive 30 yards, and the drive almost stalls out. 4th down and 10 from the 50. Timeout is called. What goes on in that discussion to come up with that play for Jalen Acklin, who had fewer than 5 catches all season leading into that massive catch?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We talked about this earlier at the luncheon, but we're in the huddle there, and we were basically running a roll route. That's a staple route for us that we hit all the time, and Lance gets that most of the time. We usually combine it with a hitch and corner to the field. Jared Elliott, our quarterback coach, he said, Coach, what do you think about running Hoss, which is hitch and seam route? And kind of anticipating we probably get Tampa 2 coverage, which is 2 high, deep outside safeties with their Mike driving to the middle. Exactly what they gave us. And they gave us the seam route down the middle. He kept it nice and thin. And Sean, has always shown the ability that when the game's on the line, and I don't think Sean played his best overall Saturday, but he's at his best when it's needed most. And that last drive, he was spot on, and boom, he hits the seam route. Axe had, numerous big catches like that, And, he's done a good job. We got a lot of respect for Jalen. He just has kept working. He does what we ask him to do. He's a team's performer for us on special teams, and he's made numerous big catches like that.
Sean McGuire just said something really interesting. He's at his best when the game seems to be tightest, or in your words, most fun. And he's only a sophomore. I mean, he's got less than 15 starts in his career. Saturday was his 12th. I mean, that to me is amazing that in half of his starts, he's got either a fourth quarter comeback or an overtime win in his career. Is that just, I mean, how do you explain just that ice water for a quarterback so young?
Well, I always say, it's in their DNA. You're just kind of born with that. I think at the heart of it, Sean McGuire loves playing football. He's a guy on the sideline. Jamie can address this. When you look at him and say, Sean, we got this, he'll wink at you. He has fun playing the game, and the great ones do. The moment's not too big. It's like I told Lance on the side, hey, we're just playing football, right? It's football. And it really is. That's the way you have to look at it. You have to relax. You have to execute in those situations. But the guy in the huddle that controls it, Sean McGuire, the players are always they're going to go as your quarterback goes. If that guy's poised, that guy has the belief, there's not a player in the nation that won't tell you that. When they got a strong belief in that quarterback, when they step in there, they just know good things are going to happen.
It's interesting. Sean McGuire, after that 4th down and 10, a couple plays later, he takes you down to the 1-yard line of your own. 3rd and goal from the 1, Western Illinois on the precipice, 34-28, and then this happens. And the Leathernecks have pulled to within 6 with a 3rd and goal from the 1 and 36 seconds to play. McGuire in the shotgun. Moore is not in the game. 3 receivers, bunch left. Gilmore, the running back, to McGuire's left in the backfield. Maybe a rub route for a natural pick. Now they motion Gilmore to the backfield. McGuire to throw on 3rd and goal. Looking right, wide open, Borsellino. He makes the catch. Touchdown, Leathernecks.
Just a great call that time. Joey Borsellino lined up in the inside, comes underneath, gets lost in the wash, standing wide open in the right side of the end zone. Pay dirt, Western Illinois. Unbelievable. One of the best calls he's had today.
34 all with 32 seconds to go. That's a great color guy right there.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
When he likes a call like that, he hasn't liked anything into that nature all year offensively. He likes a lot of stuff. But, that was an amazing call. We hadn't seen that formation. 3 receivers bunched all season. Can you take us through that play?
Yeah, it's just, we have it. We use it at different times, some bunch sets. Really could use it more. Now, that play is a staple play that I've used for a long time. Just a bunch. And to your credit, it was a rub, all right? Actually, in the rub, you would have thought we were trying to rub with the tight end coming from the backside, but when the bunch disperses, seen it too many times, guys get confused. Really what makes that very, very tough is when we sent Jamie in burst motion, just very short, quick motion, and you saw the linebacker run out of there, and then that creates confusion on who's got who because basically you end up with quads. And we do this on our defense. We ran this at Miami, Ohio all the time, and it was never stopped. We just have variations of it, how we get to it. We've run it before, just a different look. We actually ran against Eastern Illinois when we had Zeke in the back of the end zone, and they called him out. But we've had variations of this before. And when we were 3rd and goal, I said, hey, Doug, bluff, man, it's not going to be stopped. And we called the timeout with the thought process. We could throw it in 3rd down, 4th down. We open up the playbook. If we want to run it, we could. If we need to throw it, really couldn't take a chance of running it there with no timeouts. You get stopped. Now you got to rush to the line. Now you run the risk of not being in a good play. So a fairly easy call in my book right there, and we had the right play, and I felt really good about it.
We watched that play on film actually earlier today, and it looked like South Dakota only had 9 or 10 guys. Is that what you guys saw as well?
Yeah, they had 10. They had 10, which is really, really hard to figure out of a timeout, all right? But it happens. I've seen it happen before. Anything can happen in this game. I always say when you go to the ball yard, anything can happen. But, put your seatbelt on because you really don't know what's going to happen. And, credit to Sean because he progressed all the way through to the backside of the route. He's looking left, and Tony Harper's coming under. That's not there, but Borsellino's over the top on the backside, and they let him go in man coverage, and he progressed through. And you can see Joey's like, hey, I'm here. I'm wide open. Throw it to me. And Sean just, very calmly went through his read, did what he's supposed to do. He went from Jamie all the way inside the bunch to the backside. Pay dirt. as Doc says. I just love that term, pay dirt, man. That's old school.
He loves that. And Leatherneck Express. He's great. Dr. Cody, smile for us back there. 35-34, Nathan Knupp hits that extra point. Last question for you on this game. I mean, this is still a wild ending. It's not over. 32 seconds
not
to
over.
go. Can you take us to that last defensive drive right before that missed 54-yard field goal to win?
Well, the fun was just about to start. I can tell you that because believe me, I've seen those. And you know, I was in one of those, just a quick headline on that, at Richmond in 2:14. Same exact thing. We left less than that. We left 15 seconds on the clock. We had a sky kick. Boom, they hit a seam route. And I'm thinking, hey, I told one of the managers that if they score here, we don't deserve to win. And I thought they were going to throw a Hail Mary. They trot their kicker out and hit a 62-yard field goal to send it to double overtime, which we win. So I learned my lesson, and I've done this a long time. It's never over, ever. And when guys start telling me it is, I get mad at them because I've seen that. And, you know, they got a good team. They had 2 timeouts. That changes the whole. 2 timeouts gives you a lot of plays. And it opened up the playbook for them to run Strevler if they wanted to, with a quarterback draw or something like that, because I think everybody in the sideline knew what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the best kicker in the league. We're not dealing with a guy they just got off the street to kick for him. You know, if they had to get to the 20 or 30, they didn't have to go that far. This kid had the leg to hit that kick. He didn't hit it, but he's got the leg to do it. So that changes the dynamic. It's kind of like pro football because most of those kickers can hit it from 55.
Yeah, and his career long was 56 yards,
Right.
so he had done it before. It's a dome. There's no wind, much easier kicking conditions. Either way, Western Illinois is 6-2, 35-34 win. When we come back, Jamie Gilmore, one of the stars of the show these last few weeks, is going to join us. You're listening to the Coach Fisher Show, presented by the Brown Shoe Fit Company. Back after this. Welcome back to the Charlie Fisher Show here from Buffalo Wild Wings in Macomb. We're every Monday, 6 to 6:30. The show is presented by our friends at Brown Shoe Fit Company in Macomb. Thanks to Coach Fisher for talking about South Dakota. And we're joined with Jamie Gilmore, who had a great game against South Dakota. It seems like a routine now at this point, which is interesting. Every Monday, Coach Fisher comes in and he talks about you, which is cool. Do you feel more comfortable at this point of the season? You had to deal with a hamstring injury, pretty serious one actually, to begin the season. And does it feel like you're back to your old self at this juncture of the year?
Most definitely. I feel great now. You know, it hurt me earlier, and I went through a lot. You know, if anyone went through a hamstring injury, you know, it's tough to come back from. But I feel great now.
It's pretty important for a running back, obviously.
Yeah.
Jamie, as a guy who you played at Temple University before transferring here to Western Illinois, I think this is one of the really interesting things. Coach Fisher recruited you in high school, and you turned him down. But that relationship ended up working out in the long run, right? I mean, what was that? What was it like? What kind of impression did he leave on you that you wanted to open things back up to him later to come to Western Illinois and actually play for him at some point?
It was actually good for me. I mean, going through the recruiting process again, you know, and hearing a familiar voice, you know, it was actually like I knew him, but I didn't, you know, we did build a relationship through recruiting, so it was good to hear a familiar voice. And, you know, I just knew everything he was saying and was telling me, you know, was true.
Interesting that you come from Temple University in Philadelphia, obviously a very, very urban area, and here in Macomb, very, very different. You're still within driving distance of some cities, St. Louis and Chicago and Kansas City. What's the transition been like, just even personally, going from Central Florida, about an hour's drive from Orlando, where he grew up, in Ocala, and then Philadelphia, and now to Macomb?
It's a big difference. Like I said, I'm surrounded by cornfields now. But I mean, coming from Philly to coming here, I know Philly was like one of the largest cities in the U.S. So I know coming here that I wouldn't have as much things to do, and you know, I was fine with that. I was coming here for one thing, to play football, so I was fine with that.
One of the cool things about where you grew up, Ocala, Florida, again, Central Florida, you're not on one of the coasts at all. Dante Culpepper grew up right in your same area, and you broke his record for most all-purpose yards.
Yeah, I did.
So that's an NFL quarterback, former Minnesota Vikings great. Do people talk about Dante Culpepper? What did that record mean to you to break an NFL guy who had a tremendous career while you were in high school?
I really didn't even know I did it at the time because it really it didn't come out till I think I got to college, and then like my high school coach brought it up to my attention. I was like, it's pretty cool. My father actually went to school, played ball with Dante Culpepper, so that was pretty cool.
Jamie Gilmore is joining us right now. Your older brother also played college football.
Yes, he did.
What has he taught you about the rigors of going through it? Now, when you look back, how much did he help you out?
He definitely helped me out a lot. All through my life, all I wanted to be like is my big brother. I always looked up to him. And, he led me in the right path. He went to FAMU, Florida A&M University. And so, that was big for me, just seeing him go through the recruiting process and all that, and I just followed in his footsteps.
We've talked about you. We played your highlight earlier, scoring a touchdown. And obviously that's a big part of the running back position. Obviously he's running the football.
Right.
One of the things Coach Fisher has praised you numerous times this year is about your work ethic and also the way you block and step in front of blitzers to protect Sean McGuire at the quarterback position. Can you take us through, what you're looking for as a running back to block during passes?
It's very important because, it was like last game against North Dakota State. I missed a cornerback that blitz, and it really hurt me. I'm like, man, because I could hear Sean grunting as he was hitting him. He was like, oh, I was like, dang. So, I really take pride in that. He's a great quarterback, and, just taking less hits off your quarterback, that it helps him in the long run.
Is there a difference with Sean McGuire, say at the end of this South Dakota game in the huddle? Can you just tell that he's in control?
Yeah, most definitely. Sean, it's never like a look of confusion or worry on his face, man. Sean's like, even if he does have it in his body, he'll never let you know. He wouldn't show it. His face is like from the beginning to the end of the game, it's the same. Like, we got this. So we know he's gonna come through for us.
Jamie Gilmore joining us right now. Jamie, last question for you. We talked about some of the nuances of the running back position, and obviously blocking is a big part of it. Running is a lot different than most people think. You don't just grab the football and then run as fast as possible forward. You've got to read blocks. You've got to be able to read defenses, especially in that play you scored a touchdown on an inside zone, which is predicated on being able to read and maneuver through a defense, knowing when to bounce it outside like you did for that 9-yard touchdown. Yeah. What are you looking for when you have the ball? You just get it from Sean in the backfield. What are you looking for in the offensive line, in the defensive line, the linebackers that okay, this lane is taken care of. Maybe I have a little hole here. Can you take us through that?
You have your certain reads. It matters to play. You have certain reads. Sometimes you're looking at the DN or you're looking at the linebackers. And, on the zone read, you're looking at how the D-line shifts, and it lets you know to go through the next read. If you want your first read shifts left, you look to your next read, and, you go off which way he goes. Zone reads just puts it up to the running backs. It's different than gap schemes run. Gap schemes is like you hit this hole, and, you have to depend on your lineman to block that hole perfect. But on the zone, it leaves it up to you, to read. So
it's worked out so far. Yeah. Jamie Gilmore, thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's Jamie Gilmore, Western Illinois running back. When we come back, we're going to auction our raffle off a few meals. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the Charlie Fisher Show presented by the Brown Sugar Company. Back after this.
Carissa Kuchis loves Western Illinois University.
Western lets you be who you want to be. The opportunities are unlimited, and people here really care.
Carissa has definitely made the most of her time at Western.
Advertising executive, life coach, talk show host. I'll do it all because I'm a success story. I am a Leatherneck.
Think purple, think success. Think Western Illinois University.
Welcome back to the Charlie Fisher Show. Thanks for everyone for coming out to Buffalo Wild Wings in Macomb. We're here every Monday, 6 to 6:30. And because we've got a great crowd, even on Halloween, we're going to raffle off a couple free meals. You want to do the honors?
Yeah, there's a lot of goblins out there tonight.
There absolutely are. We got some witches in the back, too.
There are. I see that. All right, first winner. This guy's a great fan. Earl Swanee.
Congratulations.
Earl, there he is. I saw earlier. I said you got to come out tonight, see what your reward is. You got a meal tonight.
One more. Let's do one
One more. All right, see what we got here. Another great fan. I'm kind of partial to her grandson, Sue Holsworth.
Congratulations, Sue. Thank you for everyone for coming out. We've also got some questions from the audience here. First from at JBWIU. He dressed up a little bit for
He does.
Halloween.
He looks nice.
He looks really good.
He
Better than
really
normal.
does. He looks like he's kind of back in my era, to be honest with you, in the 70s.
I like it.
I do.
He's got a question. What was the halftime speech like? And you talked a little bit about it, but what was it like?
You know, really, you think a lot about what you're going to say, but it really wasn't a matter of going in there and, that you can always think, well, best thing is just throw chairs, go crazy and all that. That really wasn't. I've got total trust in our team. It really wasn't. I didn't have to do that. We got a veteran team. It was really more about just keeping our wits about us, keep our poise. I think the worst thing as a head coach you can ever show your team is panic. And there was no need to panic. We got a good enough team to come back. We've done that before. We just need to play better. The girl at halftime said, "Coach, what's the problem?" I said, "We just need to play better." I know that sounds simple, but we were trying too hard to make too many plays. We kind of couldn't get out of our way, so to speak. And once we kind of got in rhythm, I got total trust in our offense. I know what it does. I know it did it. It's been with me for a long time. So I knew we could come back defensively. I knew we could play better. We just needed to do it. And we did.
Part of your offense that you've run, not just here at Western, but in the past at places like Vanderbilt, you said even with the Joey Borsellino touchdown catch, you'd run that play for years and years. Mm-hmm. Tonight, I think it's really cool and worth noting, Monday Night Football, the Vikings play the Chicago Bears, and one of the guys you used to coach, Jay Cutler, is coming back. He's an interesting guy. A lot of people have very different opinions. What do you think of Jay Cutler and from your time in Nashville?
Well, there's no question Jay's, I guess, is a polarizing figure is a term, and I know I sit amongst probably some Bear fans out here, and if you went around the room, they'd all have a different opinion. I was with Jay 5 years. He was through a redshirt year with us and all 5 years. Competitive guy, tough, winner, very smart. I know he takes a lot for his body language. That was a little bit like that at Vanderbilt, but it really was never as a coach a signal that he wasn't in the game. Trust me, he was in the game. And if you ask anybody that played with Jay in the huddle or on the field, they never had any question about, number one, how good he is, because he's a tremendous talent. If you throw for 30,000 yards in the NFL, you've got some skill. But he was tough. He was a winner. We didn't have the best teams around him at Vanderbilt, to be quite honest with you, when we first got there. I mean, we were a bad football team. It took a lot of work to even get on our feet to give us a chance. So, for me in my career, I've got, a lot of respect for Jay, for what he did for us. I was at Vanderbilt 9 years, and we don't last there without him, and he went through a lot of tough times with us. So he's a talent. I hope he does well tonight. I enjoy watching him play. The ball comes out of his hand so pure. How could you not enjoy watching a guy throw like that? And I saw some of his best throws in practice. Trust me, I saw a lot of great ones. But some of the throws in practice, when the ball whistles, when it goes by you, the guy's got some serious RPMs on the ball.
Yeah, he has one amazing arm. We have one last question for you from at @JDYoung on Twitter. It's Halloween, and he wants to take you back a little bit. What is your most memorable Halloween costume or experience trick-or-treating from your childhood days?
Boy, that's a good question. I can remember one time at Halloween that we were out, and the kids and my dad and my uncle, we lived out in the country, so they had the right idea to scare us really good out trick-or-treating. It was real dark because I lived out in the middle of the sticks, as my wife would attest to, and they got us pretty good. We were scared to death. They dressed up and caught us by surprise. So I was never a big trick-or-treat guy. I liked the candy, but, where I lived, it wasn't like you could go house to house. You had to go quite a little ways from farm to farm to find the next place to Halloween.
Worked out, though, for you. Any best costumes that come to mind?
Best costumes? Well, I don't know. I remember, my mom had this witch costume that she would put on occasionally, and that would scare me to death as a kid. And I was scared of that witch costume. And I knew where it was. Upstairs, it was above my bed. And I hated going in that room, but I had to go in it every night when I was little. And I knew where that witch costume was. Still do.
Keeping you honest. This is the Charlie Fisher Radio Show. Coach Fisher, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you to all you guys for joining us, for listening, for watching on Periscope and UTV, and for coming out to Buffalo Wild Wings. Again, we're here every Monday, 6 to 6:30. Again, thank you for listening. For Charlie Fisher, I'm Scott Kornberg. This has been the Charlie Fisher Radio Show presented by the Brown Sugar Company. See you next week.